A little background information. It was my first day of work. I had been working as an associate manager in a different branch of my company. After working hard for 3 years, I was promoted to the position of general manager. I had to shift to the headquarters, which was in a different city. My older workplace was really chill. We usually came to work in track pants and t-shirts. There was hardly anyone who dressed up in a suit. We only did it during meetings with clients or when we had superiors visiting. Our boss was a kind person and treated us well. I was hesitating to move to a different place because I was really happy in my older workplace. When they finally chose me as the general manager, it took me some time to make a decision. I had no idea what the dress code was in my new office. I called my boss's assistant and checked, but they told me that I was free to wear whatever I was comfortable in. That was a great relief. Not for long, though. They didn't tell me that everyone in the office dressed formally. I arrived early in the morning and parked my car. I had brought my suit with me just in case I was the odd one out. I got out of the car and took a deep breath. It was my first day. I had high expectations. I saw an elderly woman getting out of the car and waving at me. I had never seen her and thought she might just be someone who needed some help. I walked to her and she took one long look at me and from head to toe and asked, "First day?" I nodded and asked if she needed help. "Listen," she said, "to survive here, you need my permission to even breathe. So make yourself useful. Wash my car, and I will be nice to you. Do you understand?" I had only heard those wild Karen stories. I had never met one in real life. Why should I wash your car, though?" "I don't understand," I replied. "Oh, come on. You practically look jobless. Look at me wearing a formal dress, and you are here in t-shirt and jeans. What are you, a janitor? I shouldn't compare. They are dressed much better than you, especially on their first day. If you don't want to wash my car, I will report you to the police for trespassing. I have been working here for the last 5 years, and you haven't even started. I don't think they'll back you up over me. Get to work. I have a school reunion to go to in the evening, and I can't drive a dirty car. Everyone must be waiting for me. I should be looking the best, so don't disappoint me. Now chop chop." Huh. She really said all that and didn't feel the smugness in her tone? I had arrived early and thought it would be fun to play along for a little bit just to see the kind of person she was. "Okay, I should be getting to work soon then," I said. She pointed out the storage room and told me to grab the cleaning kit from there and wash everything thoroughly. "If I see even a speck of dust," she said aggressively, "I will make your life hell here." I watched her go into the building and sighed. I should do something about it, I thought. I called one of my dearest friends in the city and asked them if they wanted to egg a car. It was 8 o'clock in the morning, and if I was egging right now, it was highly possible that people would see the egged car and talk about it during work hours. Some might even recognize whose car it was and inform Karen. I didn't want that. I wanted it to be a surprise for her and everyone. My friend agreed in a heartbeat. Just what I expected. I told him to be in front of my office building around 6 p.m. I went into the building and saw everyone wearing formal clothes. Men in their suits and women in suit skirts or dresses. Everyone looked sharp. I got into the lift and some lady asked me if I was a relative visiting one of the managers. I chuckled and told her that she'll hear about me soon. She gave me a strange look. When I entered the director's office, he and his secretary both giggled. I told them that they shouldn't have fooled me like that, but they told me that they had never enforced a dress code. It was just what the employees chose to wear. Then I told them about the amazing experience I had in the parking lot. At first, they thought I was joking, but when they realized it wasn't a joke, they weren't amused. The director was shocked that there was such a person like Karen who took advantage of their position and bullied others. I smiled and told him that I didn't mind it, although I am sure he knew I would have planned the revenge already. The director and I had known each other from our college days. He was the older brother of one of our friends, and we ran into each other all the time. He knew the kind of person I was, but he still gave me the okay and told me to teach the woman a proper lesson. I looked through the files to find out which department the lady worked in. She was a junior editor in the creative services team. I laughed inside. She was being so dominating that I seriously thought she must be a manager of a department or in some important position. She was essentially looking down on someone because she thought they were in a lower position than her. And then her own position in the company isn't all that significant. I looked a little more through her files. Then I called my assistant and asked him about Karen. He told me that Karen was notoriously famous for dumping her work on the staff working under her. She still hasn't been caught, but they always discuss her during lunch. She had picked various fights with different people from all over the office. I was greatly amused and ready to meet Karen. I didn't want to miss any chance, so I called the head of the team, let's call her Uzo, and asked her if I could come to her office as I had to discuss something about the latest project. I went to the creative department, and the first face I saw was Karen. She was standing in front of a table trying to find some files. I walked slowly enough for her to notice me. As soon as she saw me, she signaled me to come closer. "Yes?" I said nonchalantly. "Did you finish the work I gave you?" she asked in a stern voice. I nodded in agreement. Then she proceeded to say, "Okay, bring me coffee from the nearby cafe, Americano, okay? Bring it quick." At that moment, I saw Uzo coming out of her office. Uzo looked at me and immediately recognized that I was the new GM. My assistant had told her already that I was dressed quite casually. She waved at me and I simply smiled. "Why did she call you?" Karen asked. "Don't you dare tell her what happened today. Like I already told you that if you say anything negative about me, I will make your life hell." I pretended to look scared and walked away quickly towards Uzo's office. She sat and discussed the upcoming project, and then we had some coffee. I told her about her junior's latest performance. She was astonished, but it wasn't unexpected. Uzo had heard some stories about Karen, but whenever she asked her juniors, they quickly took Karen's side and told it wasn't her fault. They were interns and possibly scared. I left the office after some time and saw Karen scolding one of the interns. Our eyes met, and she told me to get her a coffee as soon as possible. I ignored her and walked towards the lift. It was lunchtime, and I was sitting in a nearby cafe when I saw Karen entering with one of her teammates. She was boasting about how popular she was in college and how everyone wanted to be with her. Then she spotted me and frantically walked towards me. "Why the hell didn't you bring me my coffee? Did you even wash my car? Should I go check, huh?" I swallowed my pasta and pleaded, "Please, don't punish me over this. The new general manager spilled some juice in the office, so I had to go clean it. Then he scolded me for being bad at my job, and it went on for hours and hours." They looked at each other and asked what the new general manager was like. I fed her lies and told her that he was too strict and rude. They both looked horrified and said that they were thankful that they'd never have to deal with him directly. I smiled and excused myself. I called Uzo after lunch and asked her to send Karen a new file. I specifically asked for Karen so she doesn't send anybody else. I imagined the look on Karen's face if she saw me in the office. I sat on my chair and waited for her to knock on the door. As soon as she knocked, I asked her to come in. Karen looked at me and then scanned the entire room with her big eyes. Then she let out a small laugh and said, "What? The rude GM isn't here? And what are you doing sitting in this chair? If he sees you, you will be dead soon. Even I won't be able to save you." She continued laughing, but my face was dead serious. I asked her if she had brought the files that I asked for. She stared at me, aghast, unable to speak. For a minute, there was only deafening silence. I gave her one scrutinizing look, and she immediately put the files on the table. Neither of us spoke. Then I told her she would have to do an hour of overtime to finish the work she hadn't completed. I added, "If I hear you pushing your work on the interns again, you know what will happen." I already knew she had her reunion. I also knew how much she wanted to boast about her positions to her peers. I didn't want to give it to her so easily. After I finished the work, I asked my friend where he was. We agreed to meet in the parking lot in 15 minutes. Everyone had pretty much gone home, except for the ones who were doing overtime. I walked to my car and saw my friend carrying a bag full of eggs. We went to Karen's car and threw eggs everywhere. Not a single corner was left. The car was covered in liquid yolk and small pieces of white shells. We had a really fun time doing this. I proceeded to tell my friend what had happened, and we decided it was best punishment for her within the rules. As we were driving home, I wished to see her expression right after she discovered her car. The next day, Karen and I ran into each other again in the parking lot. Her egged car was still there. I guess that she ended up taking a cab. I sheepishly asked her what had happened, and she said nothing. I was sure she knew that I was behind the mischievous incident. I asked her if she made it to her school reunion party, and she only replied, no. Her face was red, and she looked like she would have punched me if I wasn't her superior. I told her that I will be looking forward to her work and that she should be incredibly careful of the choices that she would make. As I was leaving, I saw her staring at her car with a tired look. I called her name and said, I forgot to say something. What? She replied in a frightened tone. Just that you should work hard. Now, chop chop. Mom and I ran a little farm with rescue and pet animals, and often need help with repairs, etc. We found a handyman who is multi-talented and cheap, a lifesaver really as we're chronically broke. So we're really worried about alienating him over the following matter. He offered to have a friend look at our lame horse as she's a farrier in training and might offer ideas. It turned out she knew nothing about horses and came to learn rather than help. And having the memory of a pebble, she needs the horse's condition explained to her over and over while she can't help and won't involve people she knows who can. She became invasive and patronizing, telling me what the horse needs, when I told her 100 times this is either not a need, not a priority, or not possible, downright dangerous due to its condition, and the vet agrees with me. Every time she makes this a debate. She has been inviting herself to muck the stables for free, which I told her politely was not necessary. She runs back and forth hand-feeding the lame horse and carrying water to it as if I'm not feeding this horse specifically while the others are taken care of. She also bought the mare 2 blankets which can't have cost less than $70 each. I told her this is not necessary, but she acted like I was just being irresponsible for not wrapping that horse in the blanket it already had during mild weather. Hell, I don't have a warm coat because I'm spending 537% of my 3-digit income on my animals. I have to double my Ritalin intake and send my blood pressure sky high just to function when she's here. I need 1 to 2 days of rest after each time, which in turn triples my backlog of chores, so she's not even really helping. We made a coffee corner in the barn so everything they need is within reach rather than having to walk all the way back down to the house all the time. But not only won't she make her own coffee, but impatiently waits for me to interrupt my chores to make her one. She also insists that I do fetch the water from the house because our well water isn't good enough for her. It's safe. When I'm otherwise occupied, she asks my mother with her bad knee to fetch that water for her. After they had a fight, our handyman told us she thinks that our animals are not in good hands. I told him I appreciate her good intentions, but she is wrong in overstepping. He agreed, but they made up and he started bringing her again. Awkward. That day, we sat down to discuss the horse. As they had offered to take it off my hands, I told them that the horse is not for sale or adoption, and while I was talking, she was nosing through our medications on the table. She even picked up my mom's inhaler and said in baby speak, "Someone ain't breathing so well." What the heck? Is COPD funny to you? Then he casually tells me that they already leased a pasture and got a company pony and are ready to take my mare. Says she would remain mine, of course, and they're just doing me a favor. See, I do have some legal literacy and I would 100% lose that horse. He then said, well, plus she needs a horse for her training. I see now. And while I'm typing this around midnight, she is bombarding me with messages, educating me about how this horse needs to be rehomed because of hierarchy stress. LOL. This is a herd animal, and herds have hierarchy skirmishes. Whoever shall I rehome this horse to, I wonder? And I was told I was entitled for asking my dad for financial help after he stole $20,000 from me. Update. After posting this, I decided to put my foot down and sent her a voice message politely but firmly telling her that she is not getting the horse. She lacks the experience to care for this particular horse. I don't appreciate having my competence questioned. And if she wants the blankets back, I'll give them to the handyman next time he's here. Then I blocked her, but she did read it. If this wasn't clear, then I guess the wheel is still spinning, but the hamster's dead. Update. Handyman came as usual without her after he apparently told her he's no longer moving in with her or anything else that requires him to endure her, and got a F-ton of work done. He did acknowledge that she tends to take it too far and needs to learn to take no for an answer and allow other people to have other thoughts on how to treat animals. She complained that our place isn't sterile and that I'm not nice to the animals because of how I talked to them in between baby speak and stuffing them with biscuits. I mean, that's just how I am. I lovingly call my favorite horse a crusty shit cow. One of the dogs is a one-balled F-boy, and my late cat, whom I loved very much, was my most beautiful a-hole, so sue me. He said he respects my decision to keep the horse, but would always happily take her if I do change my mind. I tend to believe him. He has expressed his annoyance with her more than once, and I think his support for her trying to get the horse was mostly based on me possibly coming across as overwhelmed. Happened yesterday. Me versus EA, entitled A-hole. Okay, so I'm male 45, medically disabled with multiple issues, the most serious being kidney failure, for which I have a dialysis 3 times a week. Tuesday, I woke up and my sister was leaving for her job, making a cup of tea and some toast. UK. I'm just sitting down when someone starts pounding on my front door. Some guy standing there. EA. That Focus yours? Me. Yeah, why? EA. Sell it to me. Me. Sorry, but it's not for sale. At least not yet. EA. Well, when will it be for sale? Me. March next year when I get my mobility car. EA. I can't wait that long. I'll give you 250 pounds for it and take it now. Me. It's not for sale, and in any case, it's a guaranteed $750 if I sell to the Ford dealership. Ford promises me that as a minimum, despite being old, because it's done less than 60,000 miles. EA. Give me the keys and take the 250 pounds. Me. You are on private property. Leave now before I call the cops. EA. You are selling me the car. Me. Holding my phone up, showing the call screen on 999. No, I'm calling the police as you are trespassing and making me feel threatened. He took off like a rocket. I phoned my sis and told her what happened, described him. She told me while I was in the hospital last month for a minor operation, a guy tried to buy it from her. Sounds like the same guy. Frankly, if he comes back, I'm calling the police. I don't get the fascination with a 2007 Ford Focus with a couple of damaged panels due to vandalism hit and runs. I'm a big bloke, but very serious by nature. I'm still shaking now, posting this to help IDK. Clear my head or something. Edit. Police report was filed and the local neighborhood watch group was notified. Thank you for the DMs asking if I'm okay on dialysis.